to Talking Restaurants with your hosts, Chuck and Ken, your partners in building profits and creating more time.
Welcome to Talking Restaurants, and we are very excited today because we are going to start making recipes. And so we have our executive chef, Chuck Villafranca. It's another one of your amazing talents. You spent how many years in the kitchen?
Oh, geez, countless.
Right, so today we are going to do a banana pepper soup, and I'm going to let you take it here. Chuck, go ahead.
Welcome to Talking Restaurants, everybody. Today, we're going to do 3 segments, 3 separate recipes for soups. It's now soup season, so what we're going to do is have one beautiful signature soup that you will not find in any restaurant, or maybe 1 or 2 if you're lucky, is a banana pepper soup with sausage, almost like an appetizer. That's going to be the signature soup, and it's a soup that you can sell for $6 to $7 a bowl based on the type of your business. Maybe $5 a bowl if you're just a small family-style restaurant. And we're also going to show you an Italian wedding and a chicken noodle. Really, really simple and fast, easy to do, consistent quality, and it's going to cut your cost in about 1/3 of what you would pay if you bought that soup in one of the mixtures that you just add water to. So with that being said, we're going to talk about some of the products that are in our banana pepper soup. We're going to start with that one. It's kind of an intense soup, something you definitely want to have the recipe laid out for, which we will have for you online, along with the cost on what it's going to cost you per bowl. All this product and what you pay for it doesn't matter. What matters is what that bowl that goes out to the customer costs you and what you sell it for. That's what matters. So with that being said, we're going to introduce you to the product that you will need for your sausage banana pepper soup. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the products for your sausage banana pepper soup. We're going to have fresh Spanish onions, some fresh celery, fresh garlic, banana peppers, chicken base, paste. I'm not a fan of the powders. Your low moisture whole milk mozzarella, preferably a feather shred, because you're going to be melting that into the soup. Cornstarch we're not going to be using for this particular recipe, but that will be used to thicken up your chicken noodle soup when we get to that. Cream cheese and your grated Parmesan cheese. Now these are going to be your 3 thickeners. You are not going to need a roux for this soup. And what the cheeses are going to do is it's going to tone down the heat from your banana peppers. So when a customer bites into the soup, they're going to get a real quick nip, and it's going to appear to be hot, but then the cheeses instantly, within a split second, cools that right down, and it's got such a really creamy, smooth flavor to it. So with that being said, these are the products that you'll need. You'll need utensils, your measuring spoons, a wire whisk, a chef knife, serving spoon, preferably with holes in it, and your stock pot. And what I like to keep on hand too when I'm dicing up my onions and celery is when I measure it out to have it in a container on the side, just a little bit easier for me when I use those tools. So with that being said, we're going to get right to the recipe. I'm going to start dicing things up, showing you the sizes and how to put this soup together. Okay, so here we're starting the banana pepper soup, and what we're going to do with the banana peppers is we're just going to cut all the tips off. You can do all this at once, okay? Then we're going to take, one of your smaller measuring spoons, and you're going to clean out all the peppers you can get out. You want to try and keep them whole to the best of your ability, because it's going to be a much nicer presentation in the soup. And don't be afraid to dig your fingers in there. Once you cook everything, and it's up to temp. Any bacteria, obviously you want to wash your hands prior to any recipe you may be doing. And you can just tap a lot of that peppers right out of there. And you're definitely gonna crack some here and there. It's not a big deal. Again, it's a soup. Okay, so now we have all of the seeds out, and you're just going to chop them in rings. If you get one that's a little bit bigger than the rest, then you might want to just do that, a little bit separate. And you want to keep them. Ken, can you zoom in on this? This is the ideal size. A little bit less than 1/4 inch in thickness would be your ideal size. Again, if your knife strays a little bit and they're a little bit bigger, it's really not a big issue. And I would suggest, if you have any of your employees doing this, that they wear a cutting glove. One thing you don't want to do is have one of your employees get a knife slice, and then your workers' comp insurance skyrockets through the roof. All right, with that being said, that's the way we do the peppers. And for the recipe we're doing now, if you're making a 5-gallon recipe, you want to use about 7 pounds. We're using 3.5 pounds here today because we're doing a half recipe size than you would do in a restaurant. If you have a smaller restaurant, then you can actually do this recipe exactly to what we're doing it. If you want to sell more, you want to make more, you just times it times 2. Everything. All right, now we're going to show you a quick way to slice an onion. So right now we're going to cut the ends off. Then we're going to slice it down the middle. This way you can peel. You always want to probably grab that inner layer because sometimes you're going to get that, and then you want to make sure you get that off also. But this just makes it a little bit quicker when you're cutting it. Okay, so now when you're doing these again, you want them to be about 1/4 inch. So all you're going to do is make your 1/4 inch slice all the way through. And again, if they're a little bit smaller than that, that's okay. You really don't want them too big though. And then you're just going to crisscross back the other way. When the onion gets down to a little bit, just let it sit down and flip it, and go back 2 more times. And that's it. And that's how we do an onion. And Ken, if you could zoom in. That's about the thickness that you want them. Looks like about 1/4 inch both ways. And again, if they're a little bigger, a little smaller, but not too much bigger than that. Okay, now folks, we're going to do the fresh garlic. Now when you're working with your purveyor, you could buy garlic cloves that are already peeled. And that's a great product. Nothing wrong with that. Again, I like to use fresh. So what I'm going to do is just cut the 2 ends off, like so. And I'm going to roll it in my hands. And as you'll see, super simple, that skin came right off the clove. So now you're going to do that to every clove until you get the quantity that you need. And then you're going to mince it. What I like to do is just, cut it really thin. And then you just do a bunch of them like that. And then you just keep going back and forth. And you keep chopping and chopping and chopping until they're minced. And the smaller you get the garlic, the better. Because what you want to do is you're trying to get the garlic to cook completely away in the soup. So the smaller, the better, and it will completely cook away into the soup and give your soup a great, great flavor. Okay, so right now we have our ingredients in the pot with a half a cup of oil, the banana peppers, onions, and garlic. And you're going to saute this until it's transparent in color. And we will show you that as soon as this cooks down. We're not going to sit here and make you watch the whole thing. Okay, so we've cooked it down till everything is transparent in color, as you can see. Okay, you're going to leave all the juice in there, everything that's in there. And now we are going to add 1.25 gallons of chicken-based to taste, or chicken-based water to taste. Generally about 8 ounces or a half of a pound of chicken-based paste. Always taste it before you put it in because you don't want this really, really salty. You're just looking for a little bit of taste, but mostly color. As you can see, it's got the banana pepper color. Okay, so we're going to add, we've already tasted it, so she's ready to go. So now we're going to turn this on high, and we're going to bring this to a boil. Okay, we're going to be cooking the pork sausage while the rest of the soup is coming to a boil. So we're using 5 pounds for this recipe, maybe 6 based on how it drains out or how it shrinks. But we're going to start with 5 pounds, and we're going to saute this, and then we're going to drain it really, really, really well. Okay, as we added the chicken base that you just saw, you're going to make sure that the chicken base is done with cold water. And the reason for that is when you add the cold water to the banana peppers, onions, and garlic, you're stopping the cooking process of the peppers. If you pour hot water in there, thinking that you're going to save a little bit of time because it'll boil faster, you don't want your peppers turning to mush. So that's the reason for using cold water with the chicken base to completely stop the cooking process of the banana peppers. And you can see we started cooking the pork sausage. So we're going to cook this down, and we're going to continue to chop it up in real small pieces as we're cooking it so it doesn't have big chunks. Now we got the soup to a boil. This is when you want to add 1 quart of your heavy cream. And again, this is going to stop the cooking process of your soup. Sorry, I was really focused on pouring that heavy cream in. As you can see now, we're getting a nice white color. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this now on a medium flame. You can still see as you mix it, you have a nice white color, but you still see that chicken base floating to the top. When you add your cheeses in, your cheese will absorb all that, and you'll see that the finished product is going to be a whitish yellow, which is a really nice color. So that's it. So now we're going to let this cook for a little bit, let it get as hot as it can on a medium flame, and then we're going to start adding our cheeses. Okay, once it comes back to a boil from your high heat, you're going to add your cream cheese, and you're going to add about a half a pound at a time. Okay, and you're going to take your time, you're going to turn the flame back down to simmer while you're melting in the cheese. And you have to stay with this now. Once you start adding your cheeses, we all know that it can burn very, very easily. So, we are just going to make sure that we stay with it. If you keep it on low flame and you're stirring it consistently, then you're going to be all right. And your cheeses are going to work as your thickener. So this is not a soup that you'll need a roux. This is not something that's going to break down in your bain-marie or your steam table. So you're just going to stir this cream cheese in, let it do its thing. You want to do it about, I don't know, pound at a time. Make sure I'm not getting any foil in there. And once it gets in there, you could, cut it up with a spoon. That's okay. Meanwhile, as you can see, we're still cooking our sausage, and we are breaking it up. The more we cook it, the more we're breaking it up, and it should be pretty fine when we're done breaking it up. We're going to keep your cheese melting. This is one of those soups that you want to definitely take your time with, but it's a signature item for your restaurant, and it's something that will make your husband or wife super happy if you made it for them at home, or even around the holidays. Great item. Okay, so that second pound is just about gone, so we're going to go in for the next bite here. And again, now we turned it on low flame. And as you can see, the cheese melts fairly quickly. Okay, now we got that just about in here. So we're going to use, out of a 3-pound brick, you're probably going to use, I'll say a solid 2 pounds of cream cheese. If you're doing double the size, a 3-pound brick and a half would work out just fine. And again, this doesn't have to be exact. I'm giving you the exact recipe, but if you put a few extra ounces of cream cheese in, or a little less mozzarella by accident, it's a very forgiving soup. But before you add the second cheese, you want to make sure that your the cream cheese is completely melted away. Okay, so our cream cheese is melted, and you're going to see that it will cool down a little bit, and your cream cheese might be taking a little while, and that's okay. But by a little while, I don't mean a crazy amount of time. But it's okay to kick it back up, to bring it back to a boil when it's just about all melted, because you want to get it prepared to melt the next cheese, which is going to be the low moisture whole milk mozzarella. So if we let this sit for a second, you'll see that it's going to come back to a boil any second here. And she's just starting to boil, as we can see. Okay, and that cream cheese you'll see on the top, that little bit, will all melt in. Okay, so now, because we came back to a boil, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn down the flame again to a simmer as we're putting our next cheese in. And the mozzarella is going to melt faster than the cream cheese. You're not going to have a problem melting the mozzarella in there. So we're going to do this, and we're going to add, I would say a solid But we'll start out with 10 cups. And the mozzarella and the Parmesan is going to thicken it. And kind of when you see your soup getting nice and thick is where you're going to want to stop. And again, the soup is very forgiving. If it's 10 cups, 11 cups, 12 cups, it's not a major issue. Okay, this is our 8th cup. And you're going to notice that your cheese is going to cool your soup down a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so this is now 10 cups. And I think I'm going to stay with 10 for now because we still got to add the parm. And I like how it's starting to thicken up just a little bit here. So we're going to turn the flame back on high. And just keep stirring it for a little bit till it comes back to a boil, then turn it back down before your Parmesan. You're going to add 5 cups of Parmesan cheese. That's the last stage that you're going to do as far as the cheese. The sausage you'll put in last, but the cheese, Parmesan is the last cheese that you'll put in. Make sure you have a wire whisk when you do that because it can clump up, but you'll see just how beautiful this soup is. This is definitely a product that goes in your steam table or your bain-marie. If you're going to heat it up on the stove the next day, you want to make sure that you're staying right with it as you heat it up to put it in your bain-marie. Or some people call that a steam table. And if you're making this at home, simple microwave works great. Right? And this soup freezes beautifully. So if you want to freeze this soup, you can do that. It's not going to hurt you because there is no roux with this soup. There is no cream soup base from a vendor. This is all thickened with 100% natural cheese. And as you can see how beautiful that is and how thick that is, and I'm telling you, when you taste it, you're going to be like, oh my God. This is one of the greatest soups. It's a signature item. It's one of my own special creations and inventions. I'm sure there's soups out there like that, but this is my invention. Chuck Villafranca from Talking Restaurants. This is the recipe that I put together from scratch. We're going to be having it on our website for you to use for your restaurant. Serve it, sell it, make some great money, and have people coming back to your restaurant for this great soup that they cannot get anywhere else except in your establishment. So we're going to sign off here, and we're going to be getting into 2 other soups, the wedding soup and the chicken noodle, but we wanted to show you the signature soup first. Look how beautiful that is. We are just going to probably sit down and eat all of this right now.